let us bring in our guest. Aljamain Sterling is going to join us on this GC and Rick edition of the MMA Hour. So let's bring in Aljo now.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Aljo.
Jermaine.
Happy birthday to you.
That was a little early. Was that the worst singing of happy birthday you've ever heard?
For you, Aljamain. How does it feel?
That was an amazing and touching song. I don't think I've ever heard any more beautiful words being sung to my soul like this before.
We appreciate that. Thank you for pretending that was any good. Welcome to the show. And I see a bottle in front of you. Speaking of birthdays, we're on the precipice of the birth of Funk Harbor. So why don't you tell us about what's going on with that?
Well, Jamaican Independence Day is August 6th. My birthday is July 31st. And we're going to launch August 1st online and in some New York stores here on Long Island. Funk Harbor Rum, just to celebrate some of my Jamaican heritage with the world. And I hope people really do enjoy this because I think it's a great product. It's blended with a couple of different Jamaican distilleries, aged from 2 to 5 years. So I think it's a premium blend that people are going to enjoy. And we're giving it at a very, very good price. And I think when people see the quality of this, they're going to be like, man, this should probably be priced a lot higher. But we want to make sure we came out of the gate with something that most people could afford. And so that we can share this product with the world.
I love that. We've been hearing about it for a while. You've been talking about this and teasing this for a while, and now the day is finally here. So congratulations on that. What is the price? You mentioned that it would be affordable price. What are we talking?
$59.95, not $60, not $70, $59.95.
I love it.
And where can people get this at? Are we going to have to order online, or are we going to be able to go in stores and purchase it?
I'm hoping to get in some more stores here in Long Island. There's like a whole network we have to go through, but for right now, it's going to be predominantly online. Is going to be the easiest way to get it at funkharborrum.shop. Someone took .com, which was weird, but the site doesn't go anywhere. So I don't know if it was like one of those guys who just buy something to just hold it over your head and charge you a ridiculous amount of money to buy the domain name from them. But that's the domain name right now, funkharborrum.shop. And we should be in a couple New York stores. Right now on Long Island, we're going to be on Nautical Mile, and we're going to be at Johnny McGorry's, Lynbrook, and Massapequa. Those are the main stores that I go to. We're trying to get into R.C. Dugan's, most of the main bars that I hang out in Long Island, and Backyard Barbecue. So we've got some good stores already that are going to be picking it up, but we want to make sure we get into the liquor stores and all these other retail stores so that people can enjoy it all across the island as we start expanding to other states.
That's fantastic, and congratulations again on that. Chris Cyborg has been known to pick up like the URLs of our opponents, so who knows? Maybe Movsar is the one who picked up the Funk Harbor, the .com.
Chris Cyborg does that? Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah, she does do that. Okay. Want to talk about your recent activity, get into a few topics here. So let's start with Karate Combat. You recently did their pit submission series. And what did you make of Karate Combat? How did they treat you? What were your takeaways after competing there?
I mean, overall, I think it was a great promotion. There are some things, some growing pains and some stuff that I would think they need to tighten up a little bit. But for the most part, I think they could be a serious player in combat sports. And I think this is fun. It's entertaining. It's different. It's the pit. There's no walls. There's no cage. There's no barriers. There's no one standing in front of you on top of a cage getting camera shots. These guys are right there, wide open. People are sitting around the edges. You could bang on the side of the pit, get as involved as you want. It kind of reminds me of an underground fight club that we used to watch back in the days on TV shows and movies. So it's kind of fun. With that regards, the rule set was cool. We were able to adapt the day before, and we both came to an agreement on what we wanted to do in case it was a tie in the regulation round, and then we'll go to overtime. We were supposed to do EBI rules so that there was a definitive finish, hopefully, but that would have probably taken too long. And we decided to go with 2 points scored in overtime would be the winner. It doesn't matter who scores first, as long as you get 2 points total, you win first. So it was good. All in all, Nashville was, the fans were great. Got to meet the Haktua girl, which was pretty funny. All in all, it was just a great show. They bring out a lot of cool people. And if there was one thing I will say that, never mind.
No, you can't do
Please.
that. You start. We need to hear what it is.
Everything else was great.
What was not great?
Nah.
Okay. We won't press.
What was not great? Yeah, because I don't want to seem like I'm bashing them. They paid me, they took care of me. Even though it was short notice, but I think everyone gets short notice calls with those events for right now. Hopefully they give you a little bit more time as they start to progress and get more notoriety. But I think they're doing a great job with promotional aspects. They're on the UFC Fight Pass. They're free on YouTube, and they got influencers there out the wazoo. So it's cool. It's a very fun promotion.
Yeah. Have you been following them as they've been on the rise? Was this your first experience with them? Because it sounds like you're buying into like the vibes that they're setting. You mentioned the pit. You mentioned the people around the pit. You mentioned the people that are attending. Like it seems like it's a good experience. Have you been following them, or was this the first time you kind of experienced something with them?
I haven't really been following. I know Asim pretty well, but in terms of, I guess, promoting and making sure that people are in the know of things, I'm not really in the know of it. But then again, I'm not in the know of anything unless it's like MMA or the UFC. Because I just think the UFC does such a great job of promoting. Like you always know what's happening or what's coming up versus some other promotions, they don't really, I don't want to say get that side of things, or they don't do such a great job of that so that you know what's happening, when it's happening, and this way you can get involved. In case you want to go, you want to tune in. And that's one of the knocks I've always had on Bellator in the early days. I was like, you guys have great talent. You have Viacom. How come no one ever knows when you guys are putting on shows or who's fighting? It's the most bizarre thing. So I think those are some of the things that, like, if I'm going to give any type of criticism, would be that. Because, again, I'm a fight fan, right? So it would be nice to know when these events are going to be. I almost felt like it just popped up out of nowhere. I was like, oh, you guys got an event? Hey, do you want to be on it? Okay, I guess. So it's a couple of days before my birthday, but I guess we'll have some fun, make some money, and bring in the birthday in a good way.
Yeah, no, the UFC has definitely established a habit in that regard, and other promotions have to kind of follow suit. So we've seen Sam Alvey compete for them. We've seen Luke Rockhold compete for them. You competed in grappling. Would you say that this could be a potential home for other fighters? If they were asking about, would you potentially want to go over there? If somebody asked you, right, another fellow fighter said, hey, what do you think about Karate Combat? Maybe I'd go over there. What would you tell them?
I tell them, hell yeah, it's fun, man. I don't know what the pay purses are, but it's fun. And I think they're only going to keep expanding, getting bigger and bigger. So it's kind of like the UFC and every other sport when it started in its infancy, right? It's going to keep growing, keep expanding. As long as they keep taking the right steps and progressing, I think the sky's the limit. And it's a different style. It's fun. There was one fight that ended in a TKO. I think it was like the Russian guy lost to like the Brazilian in a rematch. And it was weird because I thought he went down. I thought they were going to stop the action and then let them come back up to the feet. But no, the refs just stopped the fight. The fight was over, and they were so pissed. But to be fair, the guy sat there and was getting teed off on. So I get both sides. The ref stops it when the guy on top hits his knee on the mat, then it becomes grounded fighters. But if it's one guy and he's getting punched the whole time, they keep it going. So it's kind of hard to know what a finishing sequence is going to be and what it's going to look like. But that was one of the ones that was kind of hard for me to understand what's going on. But I guess that's what kind of makes it fun. It just seems kind of crazy and chaotic and almost like at their discretion, which I don't know. It's kind of fun. You know, it's odd, but it's fun. And Sam Alvey, I would say he's found a home at Karate Combat. He's the champ right now, and I don't think he's ever fought more entertaining in all his UFC fights. Of course, he's got knockouts and stuff like that. But in terms of like throwing the guy on the side of the pit and just hemming them up like he's mugging them in the back alley, it's just fun to watch. And it just feels like he's their face right now, their superstar, and it just brings a lot of eyeballs to the table.
Yeah, I'd almost compare it to like what Paige Van Zandt and Mike Perry had with BKFC, right? They found like this kind of home for themselves and built their brand up. You mentioned in there the rules and talking about grounding. Obviously, we just recently saw that the commission is looking into changing the rules about grounded opponents. You have a very famous fight where that was in play. What are your thoughts on kind of the new direction that they're taking with grounded opponents?
I think it's perfect. I think it makes the most sense. It gives us more of a definitive decision on what you need to do. People play the game, they put their hand down, and then they get mad at me because of their insecurities or lack of knowledge of what's actually happening or the rule set. If a guy just puts a hand down, Pereira has done this in a couple of fights. There's been multiple people who have done this in fights to try to avoid being kneed. I actually feel like it just happened this last weekend, right? In the title fight, the main event. I think there was I don't know, but I can't remember. But a lot of guys do this. But with me, if I ever shoot, I'm down on my knees because I know I can back up. I'm not going to get kneed or kicked in the head, but I can back up safely and then get back up to my feet. And they're going to have to make a decision either to let me up, to chase me with punches, or to jump on me and get a front headlock and look for a go behind. All reasonable things that you can do strategically, tactically, and have success, or you might make a mistake because you just never train those positions. Now, these other guys, they're just putting their hand down when they're against the cage in a front headlock, thinking that they make them safe. That's an abuse of the rules. I think that's where it starts to make things problematic and starts to fuzzy the lines a little bit, where people are getting more pissed off because they're like, oh, you're playing the game, you're doing the Sterling thing. I'm like, but that's not what I do. I actually put a knee down to make sure you know I am a downed opponent. I'm not up. I'm not touching the ground with one fingertip trying to pretend. Like, if someone does that, pick them up with the front headlock and knee their ass in the head. It's not that complicated. Like, I think people will make this bigger than what it really is. And I think if you had the experience in these positions, you would have went over these positions with your coaches and figured out what are your go-tos. But I like it because it makes things clear-cut, super easy to define. You have to have your ass on the floor. You have to have your knee on the floor. You can't just have a hand on the floor. Like, you got to actually make yourself a downed opponent. And I think that's fine. I think it's more than fair.
100%. I think it's a great improvement for the rule set and the sport as a whole. We mentioned Movsar earlier and your birthday. Did you happen to see the birthday video that Movsar made for you and posted on his Instagram today?
No, I didn't. Let's see it.
Yeah, we got it for you right here. It's not the most exciting video, but I mean, he is wishing you a happy birthday. All right, so he's getting out of bed, waking up, special just for you. Goes over to the fridge.
What's that?
This man got an entire cake just for you, just for Aljo's 35th.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
It says 35 KO.
Ice glare.
Lights it, smiles at the camera menacingly, blows a party popper, and walks off. Bought a whole cake and everything. What do you make of this?
I think we could have done a lot better, but you know, he gets a little clap for trying. At least he's trying. You know, unlike his fights where he's not trying to finish, he's at least trying to be funny. So I guess that gotta count for something, right?
Yeah, I would.
The other one that he made, I saw that you liked, and it was like you waking up, and it's like he put like an AI voice over you, and like he edited himself in, and like it feels like he's trying to make something here with these skits, like to try to build the fight up.
Yeah, because I started it. The guy has no personality. I started this whole thing, and now all of a sudden he wants to try to ride the wave a little bit to hopefully warm the hearts of the American people and then the people on the Western sphere. So I applaud him for trying to do that. That's smart because, again, the reason why I never called him out initially was because no one knows who the fuck he is. The Europeans, they all know who he is because he's a great fighter. He's undefeated. If you're a fan of the sport, you know who Movsar is. But if you're from here in the States, I'm telling people who I'm fighting, they're like, who? I told people I'm fighting Calvin Kattar, and everybody knows who he is, right? So there's a big discrepancy here in terms of popularity, and hopefully that changes for the better leading up to this fight because I want people to be excited. because it is a great fight. Two high-level grapplers might end up with a stand-up affair, and if not, you're gonna see me just ragdoll him on the ground and put him out and take his own, and then I gotta go. I mean, what's better than that?
Why do you think he's had trouble connecting? Why do you think the popularity level is what it is? Is it the performances? Is it the not being an American? Like, what is it that you feel is the obstacle that he hasn't been able to connect with people yet?
There's a couple of things. One of them is very touchy, so I'm not going to touch on that subject. It's in regards to marriage. So if people want to do their research, they can go do that themselves. The second thing is he's not a very exciting fighter. I mean, he's been in the UFC for how long now? He has 0 finishes. Knock on wood that, I'm not the first selected candidate for this, but he has no finishes. I mean, I fought the number 6 ranked guy in my 3rd UFC fight, and I finished him. I finished the number 9th ranked guy in the UFC in my 4th UFC fight. I finished guys, I mean, of late, it's been a little bit harder, but I finished people, and at least I have some type of highlights on my resume versus this guy who has 0. Thankfully, his fight with Arnold Allen was somewhat exciting, and it was really because of Arnold Allen. He just brings a crazy pace where he's constantly going forward, where it's hard to make a fight like that boring. And I think most people would agree. If someone else wasn't as willing because they didn't want to get taken down, that fight would have been a snooze fest. But again, I still think he's a very skilled and talented and maybe a future title challenger in one day. But for right now, I think it's my time. And I don't have much time being 35 now. And he'll have his time soon. Unfortunately, I got to turn him back. And I got to make these guys realize that Americans can grapple and show them what American wrestling is like.
You mentioned not having time. Do you think that this win will get you in the title picture? How far away do you think you will be after this fight?
I go out there and I finish Movsar Evloev in the 1st round. I'm getting a guaranteed title shot. I can't see any other way around. I 100% believe that. The guy's undefeated. He's ranked 5th right now. I believe he's 6 or 7-0 in the UFC. I go out there, former champion, come up, 30-27 Calvin Kattar, then come up and then dominate and finish Movsar Evloev. I think it's going to be hard to deny. I think it's just hard to deny me. I mean, who else is there? We don't know when Volkanovski's coming back. We know Max and Topuria are fighting next. So why not me?
Yeah, you mentioned Topuria and Max. They're obviously going to be fighting later that month. You're fighting at 307. They'll be fighting out in the desert at 308. You're saying you'll get winner of that if you go out there and finish Movsar in the 1st round.
That's what I truly do believe. I think it would be an exciting finish. I think it would give the fans something to get behind. And I think we all know how the UFC works. It's all about business and entertainment, what they can sell. And I think going up to a new weight class and having 2 dominating performances is hard to deny anybody else. Well, that didn't make sense. It's hard to deny me over anybody else.
I will say we have some big bantamweight fights coming up in Abu Dhabi. So I was curious to get your thoughts on those fights. We've got Corey Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov. We've got Davison Figueiredo and Marlon Chito Vera. How do you see both of those fights going?
1 second. You guys said they're fighting at 308. Which card is 308?
308?
Abu Dhabi pay-per-view card. You're fighting at 307 in Salt Lake City. Do I have my numbers mixed up?
Yeah, 307, and they're fighting 308 in Abu Dhabi.
I guess the official announcement has not come out yet. That is the speculative fight there.
Okay. Well, it would be nice to have them on our card as the headliner. That would be cool.
Oh, so you're saying make it headline 307 in Salt Lake City, and then you get winner of that after you finish Movsar.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but that would make sense to me. But we'll see. Because then, I mean, you got the potential next challenger between myself and Movsar on the card fighting as well. So I guess that's the way I would look at it. But I guess it depends on the champ.
Yeah, and
but
go ahead.
I was going to say, going back to Umar and Sandhagen, I don't know. It's something about Sandhagen, what he feels. It just seems like he knows something that we don't, or he's a little bit more confident than maybe he should be, or he's confident for very good reason. And I like to think this is going to be a very intriguing fight we looked at we looked at Leon Edwards versus Bilal. We saw how good Leon did against Usman, defending those takedowns, how he shut down Colby Covington, who was very good at his takedowns. But, obviously Colby looked like a shell of himself, didn't really offer much offense. But when we look at these things, we have to wonder, are other people getting just as good defensively with takedowns? But then you see how Bilal was able to get him down multiple times. Now, that's the big question mark for me. Has Corey Sandhagen done enough work where he's going to be able to avoid the takedowns of Umar and start to touch him up and make him continuously have to just stand up and fight him at range? And I think if Corey can continue to do that throughout the fight, I think he has a very good chance of getting the upset. But if Umar gets him down, I don't think Corey's that bad on the ground. I think he's probably improved since our fight. But I would say if Umar gets him on the ground, he's probably going to cook him a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 rounds, and then I think he probably gets a finish. So that's the way I look at that. And then Figgy and Vera. My thing about Vera, he's a tough dude. I have no qualms about Chito Vera. I just think he starts so late every single fight, and it's super frustrating to watch because I know he's a talented fighter. Maybe his nerves, I don't know what it is. He needs to get beaten up a little bit before he wakes up and realizes he has to fight back and defend himself. But if he does that against a guy like Figgy, he's been taken down by, Figgy has taken down Rob Font, and Vera has been taken down by Corey Sandhagen, dominated there. Some other people he's been taken down by and dominated. So I would imagine Figgy's going to look to come out and take him down and pretty much implement the same game plan and land the shots where he can land the shots. I think Figgy's going to be faster. I think Vera might be stronger, but Figgy's got dangerous BJJ, and we saw what happened when Aldo got on the back of Chito, although that was years ago. I don't know. Chito seems to be doing the same thing. He's maybe getting a little bit better, but it doesn't seem like he's doing this. It just seems like he's kind of coasting and maybe getting a little bit better and maybe going back down and coming back up just a little bit, where Figgy has been kind of going up after he got down to 135, right? So it's a close fight, but I think Figgy, on paper, based on what they've done lately, he should win.
Yeah, we heard Umar Nurmagomedov basically say that he'll be fighting for the title after he beats Corey Sandhagen. Do you agree with that? And if so, how do you think an Umar versus Merab fight matches up stylistically?
I don't know. I think it really depends on this next matchup on how Umar does against a guy who moves a lot. Because Merab moves a lot. He's not a stationary target to just take down. And I think, and knowing as a wrestler, in order to take someone down, it's much easier when they're stationary right in front of you versus moving all over the place. When they're moving all over the place, sliding their feet, you shoot, you get extended, you put yourselves in bad positions. And I think that's where you start to end up in trouble, getting exhausted. And I think that's the difference between their style. I think Merab is a little bit more mobile than Umar, but Umar is very gifted. He's talented. And from what I see, it looks like he works pretty hard. But Merab's a horse. I think if we're going to just look at paper, look at stats, Umar's probably a better jiu-jitsu guy. Merab is a better, I would say, judo and sambo guy. And then when it comes to takedowns, I think they're relatively even. Umar might be better on paper, but I think what you watch them do in the fights, I think they're relatively even. I don't think there's much of a discrepancy there. I think Umar's maybe a little bit more dynamic with his striking, but I think Merab's pressure is what opens up his striking. And I think it makes for a very intriguing fight. So let's see how Umar does against Sandhagen. And then I think it's easier to give an analysis on how a fight with Merab and Umar will go for a title.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just to do the other side of the equation, do you think Umar would pose a threat to Sean O'Malley?
I think so. But again, it comes down to, can he stop him from moving? And Sean will stop circling and moving and going laterally if you could cut him off the right way. He's done that in previous fights, which was, part of the game plan, which I was supposed to follow. But for whatever reason, my brain just short-circuited and didn't. So with that said, I think Umar has all the skills and tools in the world to beat a guy like O'Malley, but O'Malley also has good skills to catch him and sit him down, So it just really depends.
Obviously, before we get to any of that, Merab and Obviously, before we get to any of that, we've seen that Merab and Sean O'Malley are booked to fight at the Sphere, UFC 306. Merab finally getting his title shot. We saw in a face-to-face where they came together. There seemed to be a little bit of a beef between Merab and O'Malley's coach and everything. What did you make of all that?
Well, I've seen the comments. I've commented on it before, and Merab is just who he is, man. If something bothers him or something annoys him, he's gonna call you out on it. And I think that's all he was doing, was just making it known how he felt. It's like, yo, dude, your coach is your coach. Your coach shouldn't be getting involved in things like this and talking shit to the fighters. And I commented that. And I know Tim Welch, for the second time, said he wasn't talking shit. But there is evidence that we saw, which is what got us annoyed. Like, yo, are you the coach or are you the fighter? Because if you want to be the fighter and start talking shit the same way Henry Cejudo's camp was doing, you make things a little bit different when there's interactions involved, right? So I just told him simply, like, yo, dude, we don't hate you or anything, but understand your place in the game. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful or trying to be, oh, this badass tough guy, but there are consequences for things that are being said. It's kind of like Leon Edwards is coach, and not to pick on him, but when that whole interaction happened with Bilal, like, I didn't necessarily agree with him doing that because Leon's fighting him, not the coach. So it's not because of it's Sean O'Malley's guy. It's not because of this. I just call a spade a spade. It's like, if you're gonna sit here and talk shit, and when there's a street beef or interaction that occurs, you're now a part of the mess. So you do your job, make sure these guys get to the fight, and don't be the one instigating, because you might be the one to get your face. I know O'Malley is sitting here. I wish you would fight him. This weight class for a reason. I'm like, but if we want to speak facts, Tim Welch wishes he could do half of what Merab and I have accomplished. Wishes. So weight classes or not, there's a skill difference between the three of us. And I think he understands that. Whether or not it's a street fight, a cage fight, it doesn't matter. I'm not even trying to take it there. It's just, let's call it what it is. If you want to sit there and say, I wish you would, and see what will happen, like, okay, so if your coach is really about that life, have him get froggy and leap. It's that simple. You know what I mean? But again, these guys, we're trying to be professional. We're trying to get to the fight because that's the only way we get paid. But if they want to make it something else, we can make it something else.
So in saying that, so obviously this was a topic of conversation after your fight. Now Merab brings it up in this face-off. What is the feeling on fight week if all of a sudden he's piping up and chirping? What happens? Like you said, there's consequences for the action. Is this going to be a situation that can't be resolved? Like, what happens if this is part of the fight week?
It's hard for me to say, right? I mean, we'll see how Merab is feeling. We'll see what's actually being said. We'll see if there's ill will or animosity behind it. At the end of the day, we're all chasing the same dream, right? Merab is trying to become a UFC champion the same way I gave Sean O'Malley an opportunity. O'Malley tried to do all these things to avoid giving Merab, the rightful contender, an opportunity, and decided to fight Cheeto instead. So there's a lot of things that just rub us the wrong way as a competitor, as someone who wants to prove to be the best. And you know, I guess it's just different. Like, yeah, we understand the side of things. You want to make money and whatnot, but we got into the sport to become the best, not to be playing popularity contests and have to do all these extracurricular to get attention, because that's what you essentially have to do to be the next guy, right? You know, so I get both sides of it, but at the same time, when it comes to fight week, we show respect always, but when people try to disrespect us, just know we're going to say something. I think that's all it comes down to. It's not about being sensitive. It's not about being a professional. It's if someone comes to your house or comes to your face or comes into your personal space and they say certain things, what would you do as a man? What would you do as a woman, as a parent? You know, I think this just shows the character of where we're at in society. And I think it makes it too easy for people to talk shit without having their words to be answered for. And that's all it is. So I do hope they come into fight weekend as respectful. If there's anyone talking shit, it's simply Merab and O'Malley. I'm not even going to be talking shit to O'Malley. You know, like I said, I like the guy. I always like the guy. I think he's a great talent. I just want to see a good, fair fight. And that's it.
On a lighter side of this rivalry, a skit came out with you and Merab and like a Sean O'Malley impersonator. You guys built a pool in the back of a van and went through a Taco Bell drive-through. Like, what goes into these skits? Like, to where you have Piotr Jan driving the minivan, all of y'all in like this jacuzzi in the back. And who is this Sean O'Malley impersonator that's in all of Merab's videos?
Oh man, that's the Carcuzzi, bro. The Carcuzzi. No one in Vegas has one but us. Shut up. The not Sugar Sean is pretty funny, man. He's a Georgian guy as well.
Who is he? Yeah, who is he? Tell us about this guy.
He's a Georgian guy. He might be O'Malley's long lost brother or something. Merab, I mean, O'Malley might be Georgian and might not even know it. I mean, they look pretty damn alike.
Is he a friend of yours and Merab's? Like, how did this guy get into the picture?
So I think it would be better if Merab told the story, but there's a friend who said, like, we got this guy who we want to shoot a skit and he looks just like O'Malley. Merab saw him. He's like, he doesn't think he looks like O'Malley, but his beard was a little bit thicker. And then he came back, changed the look, beard, thinned down the beard, just made like a little little fuzz patch, and then had the curly hair, put the wig on, and put little tattoos on his face. And then Merab was like, wow, this guy really does look like Sean. And he's a Georgian guy too. So it's all, I don't say in the family, but it's all in the culture. So it's kind of cool how the Georgian people just connect with each other, even if they don't know each other from a hole in the wall.
That's great. We'll get you out of here on two things, and thank you for the time. We recently saw you on your channel. Shout out to your YouTube channel. You mentioned not wanting to see MMA fighters challenge Jake Paul, at least not if they're not the same size. So is there somebody that you think could give him a challenge? Is there anybody you would want to see? Obviously, I think Anderson Silva is the same size, but there's criticisms of potentially the age, and there always seems to be some kind of reason why Jake Paul has an advantage over the MMA fighter. Is there somebody you'd want to see him fight? He called out Alex Pereira. Would you want to see Alex Pereira versus Jake Paul?
I would love Pereira to fight Jake Paul. A guy his size, a guy who's a little bit older, but he hits like a tank. I don't know. I think it's just a different fight when you're fighting someone your own size. I mean, the last time he fought someone his own size was against Tommy Fury. And again, it was a good fight for where they both were in their career. But one is a professional boxer and actually does it a lot more than the gimmicky fights against smaller men in a completely different sport. And we saw how that fight went. Now, mind you, Jake Paul has improved since then. I think even in the fight against Mike Perry, he showed a lot of improvement. But with that said, if he fights a bigger guy, let him fight a guy like Poatan and see if he's really about that life. Poatan's not the best boxer, but we've seen boxing clips with him training with boxers, and he looks damn good. So I don't know, man. If he really wants that type of smoke, the guy. If he wants that, let's see if it's actually going to happen. I think it's all talk. I think it's just to show people that he would fight someone bigger, but will it actually happen? I don't know. I think it's just all talk and more for get people to talk about it, hype it up a little bit.
Safe to say that you would predict Alex Pereira would win that fight?
I think Alex Pereira would win that fight 100%.
And
I don't see. I mean, what way does Jake Paul win that fight?
To play devil's advocate, what you said, right? He's training primarily boxing. Alex is coming into his world would be an advantage. Obviously, the size now and the age now is not as big an advantage as it has been previously. So that would be the only thing that I could think that might be tougher for Alex, right? Like he has been training boxing primarily for this whole time, and Alex has been training MMA.
Nah. Nah. I mean, if you watch his sparring, most of his sparring are boxing sessions. He's in the ring. He's primarily boxing guys. I mean, he's got good jabs. He's got good slip counters. He rolls, comes back. I mean, like he's solid when it comes to just boxing. He might not be the fastest. I thought you were going to say the speed discrepancy, because that's the one thing I would say would favor Jake Paul. I think he's a little bit more nimble. I think he's a little bit quicker, snappy with his punches. But I think if you're talking power, I mean, if Perry hit him and could barely get to him, but was able to get to him sometimes, a guy with a longer reach, bigger frame, he gets to him a lot easier. And when he gets to him, those punches are going to hurt. And I think it's going to be a big difference when Poatan is jabbing you to the stomach and then coming up with that big check hook and then landing that 2 down the middle. And if Jake Paul throws that jab, he rolls and comes back with that 2-3. I don't know, man. I can't see how Jake Paul wins that fight unless it's like to win by points with this speed and outpointing him to a decision in like an 8 or 10 round fight. But if we're talking like he's gonna try to go after him, I don't think that fight goes well. That's just my personal opinion. And again, I give Jake Paul all the praise in the world because I think he's one of the most improved influencer boxer guys who now I would say is a legitimate boxer.
We the topic of the week has been this Muhammad Mokaev and UFC situation. Obviously, we saw some behind the scenes with the UFC with the Roku series and things like that. What do you make of the situation that has been happening with Mokaev and the UFC?
If you ask me, I think it's fucked up. I don't think there was any real reason to cut him. I mean, you could say the piggybacking of the fight at the PI, but that takes two to tango. I know Mokaev was the first one to talk shit. Manel told him, when you see me, pretty much keep that same energy. He saw him try to apologize, but Manel told him, no, keep that same energy. They had a fight or whatever happened, the scuffle. Fast forward, they had a fight again at the mosque, I was told, and then we seen what happened at the hotel, which is kind of odd, like to put your arm around someone to take a picture and then sucker punch them. I think that's a little bit too low for me. I don't know. I think that one was very, very dirty. And then they fought the way that they fought, which unfortunate because the whole toe thing with Manel in that fight, and then you got one guy who's undefeated gets cut. It's weird. And then you hear that supposedly he was told, if you don't want to get cut, like, don't keep shooting for takedowns. I don't think he really kept shooting for takedowns in that fight against Manel. I thought he actually fought a really good fight. I thought both of them brought a really good fight for like, outside of the animosity. I thought it was a really good fight. Like, if you had saw that animosity, you thought it was going to be a crazy barn burner. These guys are going to be just throwing down, standing in the middle, Max Holloway style. But that didn't happen. It was very technical. And I still thought it was a good fight, and he wasn't wrestling the whole time. He did pants him, though. I thought that was hilarious. My man pulled his cheeks out and said, I was coming for that ass. But it was a good fight.
Dana mentioned that the matchmakers had some concerns about him or issues with him, and you mentioned the idea of somebody apparently from the UFC, according to Mokaev, had said that he shouldn't be shooting for as many takedowns. But the matchmaker thing caught my attention because you're a UFC fighter. You have relationships with people at the UFC. How important do you feel like that is to a career, to a UFC career? Because if Dana White is saying the matchmakers didn't like him, whether it be his style or whatever else is happening behind the scenes, obviously that factors into the idea of not re-signing him. Is that important to you? Do you think about that? How important is that for a UFC fighter?
To fight towards the style that they want?
Potentially that, but more the idea of like being matchmaker friendly, right? If the matchmakers want to have an opinion of you one way versus another, where apparently Mokaev had not done enough to make the matchmakers like him, how important is that? Something you even think about?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, you always want to be exciting. Like, I think people kind of get it a little twisted, thinking that guys come out just wanting to have a boring fight. We all want to have an exciting fight. Sometimes you got to fight certain styles differently than you would a different style, right? I look at the Charles Jourdain versus the Silva guy he just fought. Charles Jourdain is a very exciting fighter, but because of the stylistic approach from his opponent, it makes it very difficult for you to let loose and do some of the things that you normally would, because the danger factor that's coming back with a guy like that. And damned if you do, damned if you don't. You do, you get caught, and then people will say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Because they just know better. But then when you start doing that and you do win, and then people will give you shit for that, it's like, you kind of got to just do what's best for you. I mean, Mokaev is 23 years old. It's unfortunate that he's got cut for that. I don't think that was necessary. I think he's more than deserving for another chance. And I think if he were to go on the regional circuit and win one fight, or if they just bring him back right away, it gets odd, because then there's another clip of the guy, Nate Maness, who was like 5-2, stepped up to fight Umar, even though he was a 25-pounder. He got 3 bonuses. And I guess from what he was saying, I don't know all the details, but from what he put out, that he was told he's not an exciting guy, which is, he got 3 bonuses. He's got more bonuses than I have, and I'm 16-4 in the UFC. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy. So you got 3 bonuses. I got, I think, 2, maybe 1. And yeah, it's a very interesting spot to be in. But I guess you got to try to play the game a little bit, because it is entertainment for the fans, but you also want to win. And sometimes it's not easy to find that silver lining to do both, to a little bit of entertainment, but also enough that you're going to make sure that you secure the bag and get both checks. And I think that's what most people are afraid of. They don't want to just go home with one check. They want both checks.
Thank you, Aljamain.
Yeah, man. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens to Mikhaev. All right, so today, 35 years old. Tomorrow, Harbor Rum makes its release. Where can the people go one last time to get that?
You could pick up some Funk Harbor Rum at funkharborrum.shop. Celebrate Jamaican Independence Day with me, August 6th. If you're in Long Island, guys, pull up. We're going to be doing a meet and greet on Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. at Backyard Barbecue. I'll be posting that out as well. So we'll be doing some sampling of the rum. We'll be doing some picture signings, taking pictures and all that stuff. Shaking hands, kissing babies. So come hang out. And that's all I got.
Awesome, Aljamain. Thanks so much for joining us, man. And happy birthday, brother. I hope it's a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Aljamain.
Thank you. We're gonna party today.
Yes, sir.
Wait, what are we doing?
Enjoy
what are we doing?
Harbors.
Give us the plans quickly before you go. What are we planning today?
I don't know if I could tell you.
It looks like you've already started on this bar level.
Probably not the
Funk
best
Harbor right
idea.
there.
We'll take that as confirmation.
All right, Aljamain.
Thank you,
Take it easy,
Aljo.
brother. Again, happy birthday. Thank you, man.
Yeah. Thank you, fella.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate it very much. Hey, if you like this video, give us the old thumbs up. Subscribe as well. You could get many more of these videos on the channel, so please do that. We would love you forever if you did so.